It's hoped a major investment in Auckland's recycling infrastructure will ensure hundreds of tonnes of previously dumped plastic doesn't end up in the tip. Hard to recycle plastics have been increasingly difficult to process after China, which previously took around half of the world's waste, banned imports. The Auckland upgrade will mean around a third of the city's plastic can now be recycled locally. But as reporter Louise Ternouth and camera operator Simon Rogers found out, it's not a silver bullet to the city's waste woes.
Inside Auckland Council's busy recycling facility. Drink bottles, ice cream tubs and takeaway containers from your bins all end up here. Sorting out all this plastic is a mammoth task, and previously much of it went to waste because it couldn't be identified. But a new $600,000 upgrade means flash technology can detect and sort 99% of the different types of colours and polymers. Air jets then blow that object into the correct stream to be compressed and baled up. From next year, hard-to-recycle plastics will need a permit to leave the country. Mayor Phil Goff says it's a relief to start reducing this now.
Our overseas markets for recycling are gradually closing, and this means that we can recycle more than a third of our plastic onshore here in Auckland. We used to send everything to China. Their national sword policy came out. They stopped taking recycling from other countries. Then we sent it to Indonesia and Malaysia. They said, look, we've had enough of recycling, waste product from first world countries. There's still a few markets open, but ultimately we need to take responsibility for recycling our own goods onshore.
Local recycler Astron Sustainability will receive 2,200 tonnes of plastics 2 and 5 thanks to the upgrade. Previously, that was going overseas or to landfill. General Manager Stephen Mead says while we can now do most of the recycling here, if there's no demand for the new products, it'll still have to head offshore.
So there still needs to be significantly more investment in infrastructure, and there needs to be a greater commitment from the broader plastics industry to utilise recycled plastic. Otherwise, the whole thing falls over if there isn't downstream demand.
Last year, Auckland sent around 1,400 tonnes of plastics to the dump, as there was no market for the material anywhere in the world. But Stephen Mead says these new products will give that plastic a second life, from pipes to flower pots.
So we put the plastic through an intensive washing process, then the material is melted and filtered and decontaminated, then repurposed.
Public submissions close tomorrow on the government's plans to phase out more single-use and hard-to-recycle plastics. Chair of the Environment and Climate Change Committee, Councillor Richard Hills, is in full support of the proposal and dealing with plastic at the source.
While the recycling and the changes are positive, we'd prefer if people weren't using this plastic in the first place and reducing their use. So also working with the government on banning some of those really hard to use plastics. So the 1s, the 2s, the 5s that we're recycling here and getting good value out of, that's great. But the rest, which is only about 1% of our total plastics, we still are landfilling those because they are hard to get a market for, they're hard to turn into anything else.
Paper and cardboard are the next culprits, contributing 55,000 tonnes to Auckland's recycling each year. Next year, work could be underway for a $16 million project to improve the way it's sorted. The combined upgrades to plastic and fibre will increase Auckland's total recycling processing capacity by 28%. Mō te hōtaka o te ahiahi nei, ko Louise Ternouth aho.